everyone, welcome to the Leaderboard, where we talk about what's going on in the world of esports. I'm Meg Turney, and joining me, as always, is the Daily Dot's Jared Wynne.
As I always am.
Yes.
Myself.
You are.
Me, myself, and I.
Good. I'm glad that you're all together this time.
Yes.
Sometimes you're all spread out.
Keep it together. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We're kicking it off by talking about everyone's attention being pointed toward Katowice, Poland. Did I get it right, maybe? A little. You've given me like 6 different pronunciations. You're not even remotely helping me on this one.
I think it's actually Katowice.
Great. Not doing that one.
Oh.
Where some of the world's biggest gaming tournaments of the year are going to be held. Among them is a Counter-Strike major hosted by ESL and featuring the world's biggest teams. So let's take the pronunciation, put that aside, and talk about this Counter-Strike tournament.
Yeah, the biggest and the best and the brightest and the best, really. Fnatic and Envy come in as the favorites, as they should. They've kind of hit a level where they're so good and they have been so successful in the past months that whenever they lose some matches or they don't make the final of a tournament, people look at them and say, well, they're struggling now. Well, maybe they're just really good. So good, in fact, that when they actually have a loss, you kind of do a double take. You're like, wow, they might be having a hard time right now.
Right.
So they're the favorites, obviously. Virtus.pro, being their home nation of Poland, they're a big favorite because they play really well in front of their crowd. Their fans are going to be rowdy. It's always nice to have a rowdy home, stadium of esports fans, especially in Poland. As you prefer.
As you do.
Yeah, as you do, as you like. So they'll be up for that. I look forward to seeing them play in front of their home crowd again. I think NIP are a big storyline coming in.
Right.
They were very successful.
We've been talking about them
very
a lot.
good with Makalele, and yet they let him go. And now they want to reload with Alu, who's a great player again, but why do this? Why make the move? What is good enough for them? Like, they have to win the whole event, or they're going to cut the guy? That might be the case because they made the finals twice in a row with Makalele, and that wasn't good enough for them. So what's going to be happening there? As far as some dark horses go, I like TSM. They're a pretty good team. They've played very well, great talent on that team. They haven't been able to break through for a long time, even under Dignitas previously, but maybe this is the event where they do so. I don't know. Could be. I think Titan's actually a good dark horse. I don't see them making the final, but if RPK can pull it together, the former Source player, if Kenny S can carry the team on his back like a giant 5-man weighty backpack.
See, that's not a good team strategy. All right, guys, let's hope he carries us. Here we go.
Yeah, if he can just pile them onto his back and just carry them, struggling, sweating, muscles glistening under the sun.
You've thought about this a lot, haven't you?
Just now, actually. Where are the lights? Makes me think about...
Makes me think about glistening muscle.
Yeah, as you do.
Fair enough.
Hey, we're going to Poland.
Fair play.
Home of the glistening muscles. That's actually the little motto underneath the flag, if you look on Wikipedia.
Oh,
home of the glistening muscles. Yeah.
Let's talk about Ninjutsu Pajamas, because we've talked about them a couple weeks in a row now. And actually, some people were saying that they thought Makalele was only under a temporary contract, so it wasn't so dramatic that they were actually looking for somebody else, and then Alu would be under the same temporary contract. But do we know any details of his actual contract?
Well, it doesn't really matter. What made it dramatic is the way they handled it.
Right.
The way they kind of just put him out there and was like, oh, this guy, he was okay, I guess, and we're not going to really tell you why we're looking for someone to replace him, and we're not going to release him either, but we are going to replace him.
Is he still on their bench? Have they released him yet?
He's around somewhere.
Just floating.
It's kind of a vague situation, but at this point he's in the background, and Alu's come in to step up, and if he plays well, then maybe he'll stick around. But then again, Makalele played well, and he didn't stick around. So we'll just have to see what goes on with NIP. I'm not sure what they're going to do, what their thinking is right now. No one is really sure.
Where would you like to see Makalele go?
Straight to hell.
No. Oh, he's a nice boy.
He seems like a good player. I don't know. I mean, if this doesn't work out for him, it's going to be. I don't know. I mean, he definitely proved himself at the highest level.
Right. They made playoffs with him on their team. He's a good, solid player.
Finals. Yeah, so I don't think he's going to have a problem moving forward, and his attitude was not a problem with NIP, so I don't think it's going to be difficult for him to find a new team, but I think he'd prefer to have played with NIP.
Sure.
Obviously. Stick around with them.
Not going to make that joke. All right.
Just did.
I'm talking about another, damn it, called me on it. Another tournament that's going to be held in Poland is the IEM World Championship, where the best League of Legends teams from different regions around the world will collide. I love how dramatic that sounds. So let's talk about who were the favorites in this tournament.
GE Tigers and CJ Entus coming over from Korea. They are obviously the favorites because they're Korean teams, and in League of Legends, that makes you the favorites with good reason. It's the most competitive region in the world. It's the trend-setting region, and again, it's because it's really good. The teams there are really good. Can anyone compete with GE Tigers? Especially, Tigers have run the table in Korea. So none of the other Korean teams have been good enough to compete with them. So it's a big ask for teams from outside of Korea to compete with them. Who can do it? Cloud9 was looking like one of the most competitive teams compared to the Korean squads, I think, at Worlds last year. But they've had a very up and down spring split thus far. They got off to a rocky start, kind of got it back in gear, then kind of didn't get it back in gear. So I'm not really confident about them. SK Gaming's look really strong over in the European LCS, but they have a very specific style they play with, and that works for them. They're so good at it that they played Fnatic, the second best team right now in the standings in the European LCS, got off to a bad start and just played their game, did their thing, and were able to come back and win that game, win the rematch against Fnatic. I don't think they can do that against the Korean teams. They're going to be able to game plan against their style of play. They need to expand the repertoire, if you will, in order to succeed at this level. Team Solo Mid now is interesting because they've actually been using live NA LCS games to try different strategies and just try to mix things up. They think that's the best way for them to do it and to evolve as an international team, not just a team that's successful and domestically. I don't think we're going to see the fruits of that borne out here, but in the future that could help out. So I don't really see anyone challenging GE Tigers, especially. CJ Intis is probably going to play them in the final, but I like to be wrong. It'd be fun to see some upsets here, as it always is.
Always is.
As it always is.
So sticking with League of Legends, the Korean player Chomada Sejong, who's the reigning world champion formerly of Samsung Galaxy White, signed a big contract with a Chinese team, VG Gaming, in the offseason. But VG had struggled, and Cho was recently fined thousands of dollars by his team for doing something I feel is really stupid. So explain what happened.
It was pretty stupid. Playing in a competition,
yes.
His team losing a series, you're going down fast, you're forfeiting games pretty early on, and you don't feel so good about yourself. So what do? You pick Jace for the support slot. As you do. That's what you would do, I bet.
Absolutely.
You pick Jace support.
Who wouldn't?
That's what I would do. But I'm not a professional League of Legends player from Korea who got paid a big money to go to China to play for VG Gaming.
Right.
He is. So when he picks Jace support because he's pissed about losing, he gets fined several $1,000s.
Because it's a useless player in that role, correct?
It's not a good, well, he's a good player in that role, but it's a useless champion pick for him, and it makes him look like a bad person to do. Well, I don't know.
So he's just doing, he was basically just screwing around because he felt like it was useless.
We're losing, I'm tired of this, we're going to forfeit at 20 minutes, which is like, happens to be the earliest you can forfeit in your average League of Legends game, just shows you what their mindset was in here, and he's just kind of trashing the game, which is not, again, a great look whenever you're a professional player, under contract, making relatively big money in League of Legends, just coming over as a world champion from Korea, the reigning world champion still, so not a good look for him. I understand his frustration, you're losing, you don't feel good about it, but, keep a stiff upper lip there. Don't do that.
No, I agree. I think it was really silly, and I feel like we talk a lot about players' attitudes on this show, and I just feel like this is, like, we talk about players' attitudes in their houses, their gaming houses, and behind closed doors, and this is just out in front of everybody just being kind of shitty.
Yeah, this is like a little bit different situation because you have a player in Mata who has played at the very highest level, obviously, that he could possibly play at in League of Legends. Now, he probably feels like he took a step down, but you chose to do that.
Right.
And you got paid to do that.
Right.
And it's not like the LPL is, a minor league. It's a pretty good region to play in. It's a good league to play in. So, I don't know. I mean, he should not do this. And he deserved the fine. Right.
Do you think he did it because it was almost like, this is beneath me, like you're wasting my time?
Well, at that point, it's probably a little bit of that, and mostly the fact that he's just very frustrated. I don't think he would have done this in the LCK, in the Korean league. But I don't think he'll do it again now in the Chinese league because he just got fined pretty heavily for it.
Right.
That'll generally stop you from doing this kind of thing.
Maybe.
Losing like nearly $10,000 of money, that's usually a good deterrent.
Finally, let's touch on a couple of big events that went down over the weekend in Call of Duty and Halo because you guys have been asking about them. We want to give you what you want.
Usually.
Sometimes.
I don't know.
I get the tweets and I'm like, that's Jared.
That's a stretch. Yeah, so Evil Geniuses winning a big Halo event. That's nice for them. Halo coming back into the competitive scene. The EG team in Halo had some questions early on because they lost a player to a critical pinky injury.
Oh, the mysterious pinky injury, yeah?
I mean, I guess it's kind of a mystery. Just a pinky injury is a pinky injury. When you're playing with the Game Pass, it's a pretty bad injury to have. You can't cradle it properly, and cradling is really important. You got to be able to cradle, Meg.
Yeah, I can imagine my pinky, I'm out.
Yeah.
It's just the saddest little thing to. I get that it's important, but it's like a really sad thing to be like, my pinky.
I'm sure he appreciates your sending up his problem. Yeah, he lost out on all that time playing with his teammates and his family, really, in the game. Important. All the money, the prestige, and then his teammates won without him.
Oh, and that's gotta really hurt.
Yeah, and imagine how he feels now with you sending him up for it.
I'm sure he doesn't give a shit about what I think about his pinky
until he's sent this video and there's a GIF made about it. People are just talking shit about him. And this is the last straw. Now he retires
because of the pinky.
Because of the pinky.
Wow.
Retired. Call it pinky.
Yeah,
That's what I was going to say.
So it's team 1 without him.
They did.
Do you think that will affect him being on the team?
Maybe that's up to them, but I mean, let's have the value of their accomplishment be the focus here. You know? They played very well. They beat CLG in the final. Of course, CLG had a tough time because they just come out of a match where they went to multiple overtimes and multiple games. I think they were a little bit mentally drained going into the final, which led to a lackluster final against EG. But that's okay because not every final can be a grand final.
Right.
Although technically every final is a grand final. But not a grand one in terms of how fun it is to watch. Also in Call of Duty, the North American regionals played out. Optic Gaming winning there. They look like a dynasty right now.
Oh, I love
They look dominant. Yeah, the green wall is just coming out in full force. Yeah, they're so excited for that. So Optic Gaming looking very good. Worlds coming up. They could be one of the most dominant teams in COD ever. They could challenge Complexity's dominance from before, depending how they play at Worlds. Now, they got to finish at Worlds, but I mean, they lost one map here at the regionals to FaZe Red. That's a pretty good run, and I don't see anyone really being able to challenge them when Worlds comes around.
That's awesome.
I just don't see it happening. So, yeah, this team could be going for greatness.
All the way.
Well, they are going for greatness, actually. That's not a question. They could be destined for greatness.
Right.
Yes. Speed?
It's the cake song.
I got it. Yeah.
You got it, but you didn't go with it.
I got it.
Love you.
No, I got it.
That's it for this episode of the Leaderboard. Thank you to Jared Wynne, as always. You're beautiful. And we'll see you guys next week. GG.